Vicious cycles. As we've learned, a mental health map represents how the factors we might experience relate to each other. This map can include negative factors like the ones we've seen before, such as a hurtful breakup, sleep problems, feelings of tiredness, being unfocused, or worrying a lot. It can, however, also include positive factors such as getting positive feedback from your supervisor at work or exercising regularly. These factors can relate differently to each other. There are strengthening connections where the presence of one factor will increase the other factor, and weakening connections where the presence of one factor will decrease the other factor. Let's illustrate this with an example. Here, a hurtful breakup increases sleep problems. More sleep problems then lead you to feel more tired. Being tired worsens concentration, which causes you to become more worried. We can see that all of these connections represent strengthening relations. We will call them amplifiers. There are also weakening relations. For instance, receiving positive feedback can lead you to worry less, and exercising regularly can reduce sleep problems. We will call these types of connections relievers. This constant interplay between positive and negative factors is often at balance. We all have our ups and downs and go through rough patches sometimes, but usually they pass. The real problem arises when amplifiers between negative factors form a closed cycle. In our case, being tired worsened concentration problems, which now also further amplifies the lack of motivation. Now, we see that there is another amplifier from the lack of motivation to the feelings of tiredness. As a result, tiredness will only worsen the concentration problems further, which will amplify the lack of motivation even more. This cycle goes on and on. We can see that even after all remaining connected factors are gone, these factors keep reinforcing each other. We are now stuck in a vicious cycle. Let's have a closer look at Linda's map. As we've seen before, Linda was struggling with the difficulty to stay focused and do her assignments for university. Because she can't concentrate properly, Linda starts to postpone her studies and spends all her time scrolling through Instagram. This not only leads her to become more stressed, but also causes her to feel ashamed that she didn't use her time more efficiently. Because Linda experiences these feelings of shame, Linda starts hurting herself. This self-harming behavior, however, worsens Linda's feelings of shame, which only further increases her concentration problems. We see that the amplifiers in Linda's network form two vicious cycles. One in which her feelings of shame, her difficulty to focus, and study avoidance reinforce each other, and another one in which her shame and self-harming behavior reinforce each other. Linda is stuck, and her factors keep getting worse. It might all start when Linda realizes that she really can't focus on her work and spends all her afternoon scrolling through Instagram instead of doing her part in a group assignment for university. Linda feels ashamed that she let her peers down. She doesn't really know how to communicate her feelings and starts to cut herself. This, in turn, only makes her feel more ashamed. The next day in class, Linda is more worried about someone noticing her cuts than listening to the professor. As Linda now needs to catch up on class, Linda feels more and more overwhelmed as she sees the work piling up in front of her. She wonders whether she'll have to redo the course next year. By now, Linda can't handle the pressure. She worries that her parents will have to pay tuition for another year and feels like a burden. We see that Linda is stuck in a downward spiral. What are the main take-home messages? Mental health maps can contain positive and negative factors. Connections can be amplifiers or relievers. Factors within a vicious cycle reinforce each other. Thus, one can get stuck in a downward spiral.